والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين على مر الأيام والليالي والشهور والسنين أما بعد. We continue in Kitab al-Nikah. Rather, we have arrived, walillahi alhamd, to the last part of the chapter. Or as they say, لا يزال الحديث موصولا في شرح بلوغ المرام. As the affair now is still connected in the explanation of this book, Buloogh Al-Maraam. Or Buloogh Al-Maraam, I think they translate it as obtaining the objective. Obtaining the objective. Buloogh Al-Maraam, by the great illustrious Imam Al-Hafiz Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, rahimahullah, rahmatu wasi'ah, who died 852 after the Hijrah, Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. In this year of Sunday, September the 8th, 4:28 p.m., 2019, which correlates on the Hijri calendar, which is the 9th of Muharram, the year 1441, after the migration of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. We were speaking in the hadith, which is still connected to what we've been discussing from last class. So where we stopped at, if everyone will look, Buloogh Al-Maraam, we gather all the narrations, as it says in this part of Kitab al-Nikah. What were we discussing, everyone? We were discussing about what they call withdrawal. The affair of withdrawal, what they call coitus interruptus, in regards to what? When a person is intimate, when a man, like we said, is about to ejaculate within the actual action of intimacy, when he withdraws or he removes, of course we know, the actual act of a man that he pulls his private part out at the time or during the time of what? Intercourse. So this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned, it said, or rather we talked about, discussed from last class, one narrations you'll find, there are narrations just to keep everything, or keep us all on one page and keep us all caught up. We said there were narrations that what? Shows that it's lawful. And then you have narrations that shows that it's unlawful. So how do we gather between both affairs? Like, just to read quickly what we mentioned, if everyone looks in their books, as we even bring some of these statements of the great Imam Al-Albani, what he wrote in his book entitled Adab al-Zifaf, the mannerisms of marriage, that he put in the title of the chapter. He says Jawaz al-Azl. I'll just read it quickly because we want to continue. It says Jawaz al-Azl, the permissibility of withdrawal. Excuse me, everyone. I had to get to my page. No. Right, so we said, and we'll read it quickly, if everyone looks in their books, in the authority of Jabir radiallahu anhu qal, it says that we used to practice withdrawal during the time of the Messenger of Allah and the Quran was being revealed. There's another narration on Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu that we used to withdraw upon the time or during the time of the Messenger of Allah, and that would reach the Messenger of Allah, and he did not prohibit us. All these narrations are authentic. Some of them are Bukhari, some of them Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Imam Al-Albani authenticated all of them. You'll find that it says, so what do we take from this statement? He says that we used to practice withdrawal and the Quran was being revealed. Because you'll find, and I want just to break this down quickly, you'll have what they call something that takes the hukum, marfu' sarih. I'm in fact, I don't want to keep to this right now. You have, during the time of the Messenger of Allah, be careful that he doesn't put his hands in that fan. Yeah, make sure he doesn't. Or just turn it off. Turn the fan off. Just a switch on the back. On the back. No. Yeah, there you go. It said that we used to practice withdrawal and the Quran was revealed. Why? Because during the time of the Messenger of Allah, if it was an affair that was taking place while revelation was still being revealed, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reveal it to his messenger, even though the Messenger of Allah والسلام, might not have been acquainted or might not have seen that matter. As we know that the Quran was revealed either due to what? Questions that the Messenger of Allah was asked. Either he would ask for certain events that would. During the time of the Messenger of Allah, والسلام, either for questions that was asked, or questions, or things, or certain events that would take place. طيب. Also, realize, brothers and sisters, certain things that would not be in the sight or the Messenger of Allah was not acquainted with, meaning acquainted with it happening, even though it might have happened somewhere else, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might have sent down some revelation concerning that event, even though the Messenger of Allah was not there. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was what, everyone? Acquainted with it, and He's seen it. And Allah tabarak wa ta'ala sees everything. So you'll find ayats in the book of Allah, of Revelation, that if something was displeasing to Allah, or if it was pleasing to Allah, either certain affairs will be ayats revealed concerning it, will be ayats revealed concerning it, even though the Messenger of Allah did not see it, or he is not acquainted with it. But ayats were revealed concerning it, or revelation was revealed concerning it, whether it be in Kitab al-Sunnah, of course. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? So that's why you'll notice that Jabir said clearly in this narration, what did he say, everyone? That we used to practice withdrawal, even though the Quran was what? Being revealed. Meaning that if it was something that was displeasing to Allah, Allah would reveal something concerning that. Because it was from those affairs, as they say, مِمَّا عَمَّ بِهِ الْبَلْوَى. You'll find in Usul al-Fiqh that they say is from those affairs that are widespread that the people have to have some knowledge about. Because of human beings, basically what? Human beings, they are involved in these matters of intimacy. So they need to know some knowledge concerning it. So even though the Messenger of Allah might not have known, but Allah was well aware of it. And Allah would reveal something concerning it if it was something, what, everyone? Prohibited. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? That's why Jabir said this statement, that we used to practice withdrawal during the time, and not only it says that the Quran was revealed, but Jabir even said that even the Messenger of Allah, now listen, this narration puts emphasis on it. Even it would reach the Messenger of Allah that we were doing it, and it would not what? He would not prohibit us. This practice of withdrawal. طيب. الثاني, the next narration, it says, like I said, everyone, I don't want everyone listening online, because the problem online is that people will get bits and parts, and they'll just hear one part of the recording. Oh, I heard AbdurRazzaaq say it's permissible. Khalas, we can withdraw. That's not what I'm saying. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That's the problem with online sometimes. People are online, they're listening, they're in the middle of doing certain things, and they'll catch bits and pieces of it, and they'll get the wrong understanding. We're gathering all the narrations. I want to make it clear that there are narrations that prohibits it, and there's narrations that also what? That says it's permissible. So how do we gather between all of them? I'm just reading them quickly. It says, ثاني جاء رجل إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Now we already talked about this. I'm just reading quickly in English. There's a man that came to the Messenger of Allah, and he said that I have a walida. I have a female concubine, and I practice withdrawal with her. And I want what a man wants. And I'm going to discuss the meaning of that. And I want what a man wants. I'll discuss the meaning of that in a minute. What do you mean, what does he want what a man wants? I'll discuss that. Matter of fact, I got to skip because we got to save time. So these are basically, to sum it up, these are all narrations saying is what everyone permissible. Because we got to hurry up a little bit. So all these narrations shows basically what? These are permissible. Like, what about the narrations that shows that it's impermissible? We already discussed that from last class. We said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu that comes to Buloogh Al-Maraam, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu said that is al-wa'dul khafi. That he says it is the minor type of burying someone alive. It is the minor type of burying someone alive. So based upon that narration, one would think, oh, it's in already? Wow. Okay. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله لا حول ولا قوة جيد الله أكبر الله أكبر اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آتي محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث مقام محمود الذي وعدته. طيب. So now we discussed and said, we discussed by saying that there are narrations that prohibit withdrawal, where the Prophet ﷺ described it as the minor burial of someone alive. The minor burial of someone alive. So that's one narration, which shows, and if you find, we'll conclude that shows that is what everyone, impermissible, one will understand. طيب. Also it says, وَلِهَذَا شَرَ إِلَىٰ أَنَّ الْأُولَى تَرْكُهُ فِي حَدِيثِ أَبِي سَعِيدِ الْخُدْرِي. We already talked about that. There's another narration that says, of course, it was mentioned to the Messenger of Allah that the people were practicing withdrawal. And it said, one of the narrations said, وَلِمَا يَفْعَلُ ذَلِكَ أَحَدُكُمْ. Why would one of you do that? Why would one of you do that? And so it says in the narration, there is not a soul that's been created except Allah will create it. There's not a soul that is created except that Allah will create it. And of course we know that the Messenger of Allah said, he said, there's not a nasama ka'ina ila yawm al-qiyamah illa hiya ka'ina. There's not a soul that will be created, meaning from now to the day of resurrection, except it will be created. Except that it will be created. So all these narrations, is, if you want to gather, just to sum it up, narrations that one would say and drop the conclusion that it's what? Impermissible. طيب. You'll find that from Ahl Ilm, which and from them in the past, which is a weak opinion, of course, because we want to bring all the texts together, that they say it's absolutely haram. It's absolutely haram to practice withdrawal. And from them was Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri. Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri in his book called Muhalla. I'm not going to get into too much ikhtilaf because I'm going to keep everything simple. Just to know, everyone, that Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri, and there's another group from the ulama that say what? That it is impermissible in all circumstances. And we said that this is a weak opinion. It's a weak opinion. Because we have narrations where the Messenger of Allah said it is permissible. So how do we gather between all of them, which we'll say in the beginning, as we'll say shortly, inshallah. But just to keep everything simple, what we say in this regard now is that you'll find that Ahl-Ilm, majority of them say that it is permissible, with two conditions. It is permissible for two conditions. I'm going to bring all the statements of Ahl-Ilm, don't worry. I'm going to read it verbatim for everyone. He said, فَهَذَا فُوَ خَفِي لِأَنَّهُ بَيْنَ الرَّجُلِ وَبَيْنَ زَوْجَتِهِ. They say it's permissible with two conditions. It's permissible with two conditions. The first one is that it has to be an agreement between both spouses. It has to be an agreement with both spouses. For verily the wife, that she has a right to have a child. So if the wife wants to have a child, a man cannot do this if she wants a child. If a woman says, no, I want to have a baby, I want to be pregnant, I want to have a child. So the first condition is what? It has to be an agreement between both spouses. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? It's agreement between both spouses. As we know, certain people get married, and due to the circumstances that we're facing here in America, where you'll find that people get married and they have babies as soon as they get married. Let's just say they have an agreement. Let's just say before we get married, let's just get to know each other a little bit, and we want to get married. If they both agree, it has to be an agreement with both parties. It has to be agreement with both parties. So the women, during the time of the sit down before he marries the brother, makes it clear. Says, I want to have a child. The man might say, no, I do not want to right now, due to certain circumstances that I'm under, what have you. If that happens, then they cannot get married. Is it clear what I'm saying? Due to the fact that the wife wants a child. And if the man makes it clear, no, I do not, he has to make his intentions clear. He cannot hide his intention just to play games. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So number one, the first condition is what? Has to be agreement between both spouses. If the wife wants a child, you cannot say, no, I'm going to continue to pull out because I don't want a child. If a woman wants a baby, then you have to what? Aid her in that. Unless you make it clear. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? This is open and shut. Fine. So it says that the first condition is Ibn Uthaymeen even mentions. He says it has to be agreements between both spouses. Because the wife has a right to have children. فقد يرغب أن يعزل لتبقى زوجته شبه بكر ولكن الزوجة لا ترغب ففي هذه الحال لا يجوز له يعزل. Now listen to what he says. He says, and in this moment in time, you'll find that a wife wants to have children. So now the husband comes along and he wants to what? He wants to practice withdrawal in order for his wife to remain in the state of as if she's a virgin. Because he does not deserve, or he does not have the desire in this particular what? Time or in this state for her to have a child. If this is the case, and there's not an agreement, it is not permissible for him to withdraw. It is not permissible for him to what? To withdraw. Also, as a side benefit to this, if it becomes clear, and I want everybody to listen to me clearly, if it becomes clear that either the wife, and the wife has to make this clear in a sit down before they marry, or an interview before they get married, either the man has to say it or the woman say it. If the woman is, what do you call it, Aqim? What is a woman, now, just remember. If a woman is barren, or she's sterile, is it barren for the man or sterile for the woman? I think it's barren for the woman. Which one is it, everyone? The man is sterile and the woman is barren. Right, everyone? But she cannot have kids. Tight. G. If a woman now is barren, or she thinks in her mind that more than likely, that it takes precedence in her mind, that she cannot have children, that she mostly thinks, for the most part, she has to make that clear. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Because it's sad to say, this is the reason why a lot of our marriages don't work out, because people are not truthful these days. And it causes a lot of problems. The woman has to make it clear that she is barren. And the man has to make it clear that he's sterile. If he cannot, that he is sterile. And if he is sterile, he has to make it clear. And if it becomes clear that one of the two is either barren or sterile, it is permissible, as they say, لطلب الفسخ أو الخلع. It's permissible to ask for a dissolvement of the marriage contract. Well, basically, if you want to say, a khul'. If a woman finds out that the man is sterile, she can ask for khul' because she has the right to have children. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear or is it not clear? Jay, so that's the first condition. If a person wants to practice, withdrawal. The second condition, ashalt al-thani. He says, Ibn Uthaymeen, that it is not a harm in that, meaning either upon the husband or upon the wife. Whereas the doctors, for example, they might say to the woman, give your time body to heal from the previous pregnancy. And the doctor advises, if not, it's going to cause a major harm upon yourself, or it might cause death. Here it might switch the hukum to where he has to even what? Practice azm, practice withdrawal. And even certain other circumstances is to utilize other contraceptives. Now, you can wear a contraceptive, especially if the doctor says that if she gets pregnant, she might die. Or if she gets pregnant, again, her uterus or what have you might explode. Here, you can use a contraceptive. Am I making it clear? Yes, I'll read the text. I'm saying everything based upon ilmi. Many of you know me not to say things from my own keys, from my own self. Is it clear what I'm saying? Types. So, we'll get into the discussion of contraceptives in a minute. But here, what we're just speaking about right now, what is what, everyone? Withdrawal, azm. So withdrawal, it says, if there's a harm. If there's a harm upon the husband or the wife, then they can practice withdrawal. And I gave examples of this. For example, the wife, the doctor might said, give your wife, her body is still healing from the previous one. Give her time, her body to heal. The doctor recommends this. He's trustworthy, reliable, what he relates and what he gives of medical advice. Then a person can practice withdrawal. So that's the second condition, that there's not a harm upon the what? Upon the husband or the wife. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? If these two conditions are fulfilled, then it's permissible to practice what, everyone? Withdrawal, with the majority of Ahl Ilm. وَلَكَ مَعَ ذَلِكَ يَقُولُونَ إِنَّهُ غَيْرُ مَرْغُوبٍ فِيهِ. Even though you'll find that they say it's permissible in these circumstances, they still say that it is not what? Desirable. Why? Because what? It opposes the goal of why the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had what? Legislated marriage, and for people to marry the walud al-wadud. To marry the women who are what? Loving and can bear lots of children. It goes against that what? That goal, which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had what? Had encouraged. So we said, Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, it goes against the intent of the ummah of when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned clearly said, فَإِنِّي مُكَاثِرٌ بِكُمُ الْأُمَمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَرَهْبَانِيَةَ النَّصَارَى. He said, alayhi salatu wassalam, he said to marry the women who are loving and can bear lots of children, for verily I will have the majority of the followers on the day of resurrection, and do not practice the monastery practices of the Christians. The monastery practices where they introvert themselves in certain type of monastery practices or buildings or facilities. Do not practice that, which is the practice of the Christians. Right. So when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said this is to show what, everyone? That it's permissible to practice withdrawal with these two circumstances. With these two what? With these two conditions. But other than that, if these conditions are not fulfilled, then it becomes what? One cannot practice it. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the gather between the narrations where there are narrations that shows it's permissible, and there are narrations that clearly shows it is what? It's haram. Is it clear that between all the narrations? Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear or is it not clear? For example, we'll also discuss after class, and maybe a little bit later when we have the time, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, that, for example, of what the non-Muslims say, or what they say to practice, no. You need to not have a lot of children due to the fact that it causes what they call da'iqatun iqtisadiyya. There has to be a limited amount of people so it not exhaust the natural resources of the earth. All of that is what? Is not an excuse to practice withdrawal. That is impermissible. Rather, we've known, we've given numerous examples, that the more children you have is the more reason why Allah will expand your provisions. It will be a reason for making the resources, the natural resources, beyond adequate and more, as a reason for what? Having more children. So we do not follow the concepts or the ideologies of the kuffar, saying that as for having, or the result of having numerous amounts of children will cause some type of what? Exhaustion of all the natural resources of the earth. Rather, as we know from the studies have been established, that the most strongest economy in the planet has the majority of the people. As what discussed, and I said this in last class. Those who have the strongest economy from the non-Muslims is China right now. They have China, and they have the most highest population of the earth. They have the most people of the dunya. It's China right now. And I think number 2 is India. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? China is number 1. Number 2 is India, and they have the highest population. They have the highest population. So all this nonsense that there needs to be limited amount of people so there can be just enough to be adequate for every individual or every person is absolute batil, is absolute nonsense. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? As we know, the ayat where Allah Ta'ala mentioned, it says in his book, ما من دابة على الأرض إلا على الله رزقها. As Allah Ta'ala says, there is nothing crawling on the face of the earth except that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has written for it its provisions. And you will also find that Allah Ta'ala mentioned in his book, it says, وَلْيَسْتَعْفِفِ الَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ نِكَاحًا حَتَّى يُغْنِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وفي حديث فيما صح عن ثلاثة حق على الله عونهم فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم منهم الناكح الذي يبتغي به وبنكاحه العفاف. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, he says, let one remain chaste, and in Britain they say chaste, for the one who does not find marriage until Allah will increase him from his bounty. You'll find the stories of what Ibn Uthaymeen mentioned and said about his friend that he had, that he said that my provisions were stricken. I didn't have a lot of wealth until someone said, get married. And when I married, he said, when I had my first child, my provision increased and Allah started blessing my business. And it started augmenting and increasing. And when I had my other child, I started having more and more and more until Allah Ta'ala gave me what? Open, expanded my wealth and my provisions. Also, we know the hadith of the Prophet where he said, 3, which was a haqq, what is upon Allah Ta'ala to aid him or aid them. And from them is a nakih, the one who wants to or seeks marriage, in which he's seeking by marriage chastity. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Meaning to protect himself from falling into something haram. That if he's seeking that, afaf, that to preserve his chastity or her chastity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will aid them. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So that is in the narrations together, just to sum up how it's permissible to what? Practice withdrawal with the conditions that has to be fulfilled. If it is not fulfilled, and what we mentioned, meaning a person might fear poverty, or a person might follow the ways of the kuffar by saying, no, I only want to have one child because I'm out of fear that maybe perhaps my provisions will be stricken, or I will not have that much money to spend on them, or what have you, or due to the fact that I might exhaust all the natural resources of the earth. All of these are affairs that are what? Not permissible for one to acknowledge or even turn to, because it agrees with the plots of the non-Muslims in order to what? Reduce the number of population of the people on the earth. And another catastrophe they have added on to what we see now is homosexuality. Homosexuality was also set by the non-Muslims in order to limit the number of people on the earth. That's also another way. So not only was it just for what we say a practice of withdrawal, but also the practice of homosexuality has aided to this. Fine. There's a benefit I wanted to read quickly, and we'll stop, inshallah, with the great Imam Ibn Uthaymeen to mention this regard. He says something about this, what we're discussing now, what we're saying. This is what he says. He says, أما ما ذهب إليه أهل التشاؤم الذين لا يعرفون حق المعرفة الذين يقولون إن كثرة الأولاد تؤدي إلى ضائقة اقتصادية. يقول ما داموا تعلقوا بالأمور المادية يبتلون بها. من تعلق بشيء وكل إليه. ولو اعتمدوا على الله لوجدوا أن الرزق ينفتح لهم كلما كثر أولادهم. إذن نقول العزل مع قولنا بجوازه غير مرغوب فيه لأنه يضاد ما كان الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يريد من هذه الأمة وهو تكثير النسل وليعلم أنه يجب علينا الحذر من النصارى الذين يولدون النساء. And he starts talking about another affair as far as people being midwives and messing up the babies. He talks about that in another part. But anyway, the first part he says, for beyond this, what we're saying, for those who have bad thoughts about Allah, those who have bad thoughts about Allah, that do not have proper knowledge, that they say that having an abundance of children, that it leads to the economy being what? Being stricken and hard, being less. He says, and as long as they say, and you'll find that Ibn Uthaymeen, when he condemns them, he says, as long as they're connected with these type of affairs, as long as they're being connected with these type of affairs, then they're going to be tested by it. Meaning, their hearts are connected with these type of ideologies, and as a result of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly what? Punishes them and entrusts them to it. So he says, because we know the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which comes in Kitab al-Tawheed, whoever's heart is tied to something, he will be entrusted to it. And if you are connected with your mind, being connected with these type of ideologies, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will what? Will not bless you in your provisions. Rather, he will connect you to these affairs. And this is the reason why you'll find that the people, even though they might have an abundance of money, they still feel in their hearts as if they're what? In a state of poverty. They're still in a state of poverty. Allah did not enrich them. So he says, as long as they're now in contrast of a person, if he relies upon Allah, he will find that his provisions will be expanded. Every time his children are what? Increased and augmented when he has more. He said, hence we say that withdrawal, despite of us saying it's permissible, even though it's not desirable, because it opposes what the message of Allah intended of this ummah of having a lot of children and having a lot of offspring and a lot of followers. He says it's incumbent upon us to be on guard and cautious against the Christians. And he starts talking about the midwives, the affair of what they call the midwives, Tawleed. And we'll talk about that later. So we'll stop here, inshallah, because there's other affairs. I wanted to read what Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned in Tahdib al-Sunan, which is the Sharh, the Sunnah bi Dawood. When it's called Ma'alim al-Sunan, it's actually, but was explained by Mundhiri, Al-Hafidh al-Mundhiri, which is an actual summary of Sunnah bi Dawood. Al-Hafidh Ibn al-Qayyim actually explained it. He explained the mukhtasar, or the summary of Sunnah bi Dawood. I'm going to say it again. Sunnah bi Dawood has a summarized version of it by Al-Hafidh al-Mundhiri. Al-Mundhiri, he summarized it. Ibn al-Qayyim explained the summarized version of Sunnah bi Dawood, which is called Tahdib al-Sunan. I'll talk about that later, because he brings a fa'idah I wanted to speak about. We'll speak about that a little bit later, inshallah. Fine, we'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وأشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Is there any questions about the lesson, anyone? There's other stuff I wanted to bring and some other details in this, but we'll talk about it next Sunday. Plus, I know the people are probably fasting.